breaking and entering, drunk and disorderly, law and order. A former prosecutor and a defence lawyer, not your typical pairing. And the result? Conversations about crime and punishment that are guaranteed to get you thinking.
Welcome to Justice Matters with Joe Crowley and Lizzie Green, a brand new weekly podcast. Our episodes are available on Apple Podcast, Spotify and YouTube. Check out our Instagram for clips at Justice Matters Pod. Enjoy the episode. This episode contains descriptions of domestic and family violence and intimate partner homicide. Listener discretion is advised. Hello, Lizzie.
Hi, Joe.
Welcome back.
Welcome back to you.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here.
Always.
We've had a number of episodes where we've talked about intimate partner homicide, and
Because it's a crisis.
Okay. Well, viewers can listen to the earlier episodes about my opinions on that. I picked the case today to talk about Susan Neal Fraser, which I hadn't sort of realised. Well, I had realised if I'd turned my mind to it, but it is also an intimate partner homicide because she was convicted of killing her husband.
Yes, which we do like to acknowledge that definitely there are female perpetrators and male victims of intimate partner homicide. Yes.
Well, in the earlier episode, in our Lawyer X episodes, I mentioned that case where the woman killed her husband of 50 years.
Yes.
With a walking stick and I think a fry pan or something.
Shocking.
It was.
Yes.
All right. So let me start. This is way back in 2009 and it is in Hobart in Tasmania. I started the 27th of January and we'll work backwards. So 27th of January, early in the morning, down on the foreshore at Hobart of the Derwent River, a passerby is walking along, looks out across the Derwent River where there are a lot of boats moored, sees a particularly large boat, which is a two-masted ketch, and it is sitting very low in the water. So he calls the police, water police go over to the boat.
I don't know what that means. Why is it important that it was sitting low in the water?
Well, it looked like it was sinking. So
right. Okay.
Boats sort of sit at a certain level. I think it's called a plimsoll line, the line at which they sort of sit, where they're supposed to sit, and then obviously more weight is put on them. They get lower and lower in the water. This was so low, I think it was about a foot from the water sort of coming in to the boat. Okay. So it was obvious that it wasn't doing well.
Right.
And so water police were called and went out to the boat, found that it was full of water and began pumping it out and contacted the owner. And so one of the owners, Sue Neal Fraser, came down from her house, which was not far away, to the foreshore and spoke to police and said her husband had been on the yacht and staying on the yacht that night, but he wasn't there. He was missing. Mm. So what that sort of begins a 12-year, 2023 was the last hearing. 2021. So 11-year, 2009. My maths are terrible. Let's say 14 years, split the difference. Sort of saga for Sue Neal Fraser in what has been described by one of Australia's leading miscarriage of justice experts as the worst miscarriage of justice in Australian history.
The worst?
The worst, he said. Yeah.
That's a big call.
It is a big call. I'd probably put it definitely top 10, possibly top 5. I'm not sure I'd say it was the worst.
Maybe we need to release the hit list of the top miscarriage of justice.
Yeah, well, Wikipedia do a very comprehensive list of miscarriage of justice in Australia if anyone wants to have a look.
Did you contribute to the...
I haven't. I don't know how to do Wikipedia.
No, because I think we need a better source. If you're going to start...
Wow, okay.
Well, seriously, we've had this conversation. Wikipedia, anyone can say anything.
It's a good first reference guide. And they footnote where they get their information from.
I don't want our students to take that
Our
advice.
Students?
My students.
Okay. All right. So I will go back to the day before, which is the day that the murder is alleged to have occurred. Robert Chappell, Sue Neal Fraser's de facto husband.
I was going to say
Chappell.
not married.
No. So There was a 10-year age difference between them. So in 2009, Sunil Fraser is 55, Bob Chappell is 65. They'd been together for 20 years. So they'd been together since the early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
It was a sort of a Brady Bunch family. He had 3 children, 3 adult children. She had 2 daughters who were sort of young teenagers, I think, when they got together, and then obviously grown up by the time 2009 rolls around.
I now have the Brady Bunch theme song in my
your head.
Thank you so
okay,
much.
That's right. On the 26th, so Australia Day, 2009, Bob Chappell goes out to his catch. It's called the Four Winds. It's like a 10 metre. I think when you start to measure boats in metres, it's a big boat. I don't know what that is, 54 feet or something. It's got 2 masts. It's a big yacht.
Boat.
Yes.
That obviously had living quarters.
Absolutely had living quarters. Yes, you could definitely overnight on it.
Okay.
I overnight on my 14-foot boat. So
I didn't know you had a boat.
I do. And you could absolutely overnight on this very palatially. Although when they bought it in September of 2008 from Queensland, they were sold a bit of a dud. It actually had a lot of work that needed to be done to it. They spent $40,000 getting it fixed up here in Queensland. It cost them over $200,000 to buy it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a big steel ketch. You could sail around the world in it. It was significant.
And were they frequent sailors?
They had Sunil Fraser, I think, had owned boats. They'd certainly sailed before and enjoyed sailing, and so I'm going to put their joint finances into this, which is a big endeavour. And then they had organised to have it sailed back to Hobart. I'll start with that bit. So it's in Queensland. They get it repaired. In December of 2008, they decide they were going to get it sailed back to Hobart because you can't really put it on a truck.
No.
I suppose you could, but it was very expensive. So they hire some crew, and the 4 of them are going to go. So Bob Chappell, Sunil Fraser, and 2 of their hired crew who end up being witnesses at the trial. So they sail from Manly in Moreton Bay, and they only get to Southport, which is not far.
Not far.
And Bob Chappell's had nosebleeds, but he's had nosebleeds that are so bad they offload him to get some medical treatment.
Wow.
And that was relevant in terms of some blood that was found in the cabin. He is originally going to meet them in Sydney, but then he decides he'll meet them in Hobart. So he goes all the way home, and they sail. So Sunil Fraser and these 2 men sail all the way to Hobart, and they arrive on the 24th of December, Christmas Eve, 2008.
And then he goes missing.
No, not till January, end of January. So
the next year.
Yeah, 2009.
So
a
months.
month away. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, a month.
Bit over a month. So it's moored in the Derwent River. Lots of boats are moored there.
Is it big?
It is big. So, and it's about 400 metres from shore. So you get to it via a dinghy. You take your dinghy down, or you have your dinghy there somewhere. You jump in your dinghy out to your boat.
Right.
So they are tinkering away with this yacht because it needs work done on it. They do take it on the 25th of January, the day before Australia Day. They took it to Bruny Island, a lovely sail down the coast of Tasmania from Hobart down to Bruny Island. They can't stop because they got to put the anchor down, and the anchor winch doesn't work, so they can't stop.
Like it's broken.
Yeah, so they have to turn around and go back. So on the 26th, Bob Chappell says he wants to work on the anchor winch. He's also located the source of an oil leak in the engine. He wants to work on that. So he says he's going to stay on the boat. The relationship between them had been a bit strained. Some of the evidence given at the trial by the people who saw them, who sailed on the yacht with them, said their relationship was a bit strained. And one of Bob Chappell's sons, who'd been on the yacht with them as well, said relationship was a bit strained. So Sunil Fraser doesn't really stay on the yacht with him. She is on for a little while. She goes off and has lunch with a friend. She comes back to the yacht about 2. She said she stayed about an hour and then she left. Now, they only have 1 dinghy, so they either go, so when Sunil Fraser leaves in the dinghy,
oh, he's abandoned there.
He's there. She leaves her mobile phone with him, and she's going to be at home, so she's got the landline. So he can call her or she can call him.
Did he not have a mobile?
I assume he didn't have a mobile. It's 2009. He's 65. I don't know.
Okay.
Now, she goes home. Exactly what happens that afternoon we might come to. She gets phone the next day about the boat, goes down, sees that it's sinking. Police say there's no one on board. She starts to talk to the police about where Bob might be or They find her dinghy. So she drove it back. She said she tied it up near the yacht club. They find it's not tied up near the yacht club. It's further down the shoreline, bumping against some rocks. It's not tied to anything.
Oh.
And the rope, called a painter, I don't even know why you would call the rope from a sailboat a painter, but anyway, or a dinghy, was thrown back into the dinghy. So it looked like it hadn't been tied up at all. You know, if it had been tied up and it had slipped its moorings, you know, the rope would have been hanging off the front, but the rope's sort of thrown in there. Anyway, so the dinghy isn't where Sue Neill-Fraser said it was. But what seems to have happened is the police have very quickly decided Sue Neill-Fraser is a person of interest. When I say very quick, I don't know exactly how long, because over the next couple of days she speaks to them a lot and assists them. So what they do is they get the yacht, they pump all the water out so it's not going to sink. They find that the seacock is open. You'd obviously know what that's all about.
Obviously, I'm so nautical.
So the seacock, I am not exactly sure what the point of them is, but the point of them is to let water into a boat. Into a boat. It's just a valve you open and it lets seawater in.
Why?
Yeah, good question.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not nautical enough to really understand that. I had a boat with a seacock on it, and all I knew is that when we were underway or something, I had to open it because I think it was letting water into the diesel engine or something, but I had to always make sure when I got off it to close the seacock.
Hey, enough of the seacock.
Okay. So the seacock's open, hence the water getting in, but also a line to the toilet called a head on a boat, again, why, was cut. So water was coming through there as well.
Through the toilet itself?
Well, through the
bathroom.
There's a pipe that goes to the toilet. So
like
you
a
can
lot
flush
of water?
Well, enough water for it to be sinking. Having said that,
so that's why it was sinking?
Yeah,
okay.
Through this water. Now, you would obviously be thinking, what about the bilge pump, Joe?
What about the bilge pump, Joe?
I know. So the bilge pump is a small pump on a boat to pump water out that gets into a boat.
So it doesn't sink.
So how is it sinking?
Where was the bilge pump?
The bilge pump had been disconnected.
Oh, you mean it's automatic?
Oh, yeah, they're automatic. They've got a little float switch so that when the water gets to a certain level, it switches them on.
Oh, that is a good
the water
question
out.
then.
Yeah. So one of the police officers who got on there, who apparently was quite nautical, said, the person who opened the seacock, cut this line, disabled the bilge pump, had intimate knowledge of this boat. I must have totally would have objected to that, you know. I mean,
well, wouldn't it be any person who was nautical?
One would have thought so. I mean, I know about seacocks. I know about bilge pumps. I don't have a sailing boat.
I thought you just said you had a boat.
It's not a sailing boat.
Oh.
It's a motorboat.
Ah.
But his point was, and again, I mean, you probably could have found it if you looked, was that the seacock was underneath one of the floorboards. You had to pull the floorboard up to get to the seacock.
As in that's where it resided?
That's where it resided.
Okay, so you couldn't accidentally do it?
No. You'd be hard-pressed to accidentally undo a seacock. You've got to really screw them. But again, if you're on a boat and you know there's a seacock, because all boats have seacocks, you'd be like, let's find the seacock, people. I wonder if it's under this panel.
Right.
You know, I mean, I don't think it's...
Not
I don't
rocket
think...
science.
Not rocket
science.
For
a nautical person.
For a nautical person.
Mm-hmm. Such as Sue.
Such as Sue. So they tow the yacht, the Four Winds, to Constitution Dock. I don't know why that name comes up so often, but I don't know where it is. Presumably it's nearby. And they can pull it up near the dock and so people can get on it. So all of the forensic people jump on, start looking at it. Sue Neill-Fraser herself goes down. The police say, can you do a walkthrough? Tell us what's out of place.
So she hadn't been cautioned or anything?
No, interestingly. Walks on board automatically. I mean, everybody can see that the cabin is disheveled. You know, there's pillows around the place. It's clear there's been some kind of a sort of a struggle in the cabin. There's some blood, I think, on the stairs. There's some blood on a flashlight. The fire extinguisher's missing.
How much blood are we talking?
Well...
Like drops or smears?
No, smears. And I think sort of smears of blood.
Mm-hmm.
There was something else. It was the EPIRB, when you lost at sea and you turn it on and the satellites can find me. I mean, I don't know what they do. Yeah, I just know you push the button if you're in trouble.
Okay, but sorry, can I just check the blood smears and
yes.
stuff? Had they been submerged?
No. So they were on the stairs leading out of the cabin.
Okay.
And so
We
quite
hadn't
high
got
up.
that far.
Yeah, and the flashlight was on a shelf or on the bench or somewhere.
Okay.
Sue Neal-Fraser also identifies ropes that are out of place. She says that she points to some ropes. I think one of them had been cut. Some ropes had been moved, and particularly, which she identifies, that a handle to one of the winches on the deck is in the winch. So what you do so you don't bump your head on with handles permanently being there is you have a handle that you can put into a winch, wind it where you want to, take the handle out, put it away, later on this handle was in a particularly sort of busy spot so that you would never leave it in there because you'd be bumping into it all the time.
Right.
And she says, well, that shouldn't be there.
But so maybe if you were doing work on the boat, you would leave it there.
Yeah, well, if it was connected to some ropes, it looked like somebody had been winching something.
Mm-hmm.
She identifies that. The police forensics go on and they swab the place. They use luminol. Luminol is a presumptive screening test, which means that it will identify certain chemicals. Some of those chemicals are in blood. So it will identify blood, but it will also identify other
cleaning
chemicals.
agents and stuff.
Yeah, I think bleach and some vegetable matter.
I read a great thriller where it talked
Oh, did
about
you?
that.
Lee Childs?
Not Lee Childs this time.
Okay.
Forget the author.
Luminol. So what police do with these presumptive tests is, rather than swab the whole boat, for DNA, they'd use a presumptive test to work out where they should do a proper swab. So when the luminol, comes up positive, they're like, well, that's where we'll do a DNA test. So they find Bob Chappell's DNA in the blood, and they find another large patch of DNA. When I say large patch, it is 21 centimetres by 26 centimetres.
That's
so
a
it's
big smear of blood.
It's not blood, so it's invisible. They've just put luminol on it and it reacts.
Oh, okay.
So it's sort of a ball-shaped size.
Like from sweat or something?
Ah, well, we'll come to what it is. So they swab it, DNA present. And they're like, oh, good. Put it into the DNA machine at the back at headquarters, and no matches. So the mysterious DNA. So meanwhile, they're talking to Sue Neal-Fraser. Now,
as in interviewing her, or just
initially talking to, subsequently interviewing. But I think the interviews might be, can you come down? The initial ones are, can you come down to the station and just give us a hand with some information? Kind of interviews. I have had a lot of witnesses that I've had to deal with, and sometimes you get a bad witness. And it strikes me that Sue Neal-Fraser is not the kind of witness you want.
Oh.
It seems to me, and this is just my take on it, she's a bit of a chatty Cathy for a start.
Oh.
Okay. Lots of talking.
Okay.
And police officers, not just police officers, lawyers too, but people who know the trick, often if you want someone to talk, you say nothing and then they fill the silence.
Yes.
I don't know if that's what the police officers are doing, but even on day one, when she goes down to the jetty, 7:10, 7:20 a.m. or whatever, police are there. They're like, is that your boat? Yes, my boat. She starts talking. She starts a number of things which are problematic. Very early on, she says, oh, yeah, our yacht's been broken into. They use these kind of yachts to traffic drugs from Noumea or something. People keep going on and opening the panels up. We think that somebody thinks there's drugs on it, and there's various versions of that story. Not all of them about drugs. Some of them just about, oh, yeah, people have been breaking into our boat.
Was there any break-ins? Or just her word for it?
Well, it was just her word.
Had they told anyone there'd been break-ins?
No. Admittedly, they'd only been back in Tasmania a month.
Nobody, even friends or family?
No. So Bob Chappell's son, who's an adult, he said, Dad never said mentioned break-ins to me.
Okay.
But I don't think anything had been stolen. I think they kept complaining people had opened panels on the boat. And
you would tell your family, surely.
I don't know. How do we know how you would react if you owned a 54-foot ketch that was in the Derwent River that people were opening hatches on and leaving them open?
Had they put extra security on the boat?
No, I don't. What, a guard dog? I don't know what.
More locks.
Locks.
Alarms. I don't know.
It's 400 meters out in the river.
And it's being broken into, apparently,
yes.
multiple times.
Yes.
So you're not telling anyone, and you're not taking any action to try and prevent the break-ins?
Well, I think they locked up the cabin. But, I have had another, not my current boat, I've had an earlier boat on a mooring, which was broken into. It was locked up. Okay. They just break the lock.
All right. Yes. All right.
You're in the middle of a river. Nobody can hear you.
It's been broken into.
Yes. So it's been broken into. This is what Sue Neal-Fraser said.
Yes.
There was also some evidence that it was broken into when it was in Queensland being worked on. The electrician who was working on it said he would come back and things had been moved or something.
Sounds like a cursed boat.
Yeah, it does a bit. Does it sound odd? Anyway, various versions of people think there are drugs on this boat. Or people are just breaking it. It gets told to the police over the course of a while, and the story sort of seems to sort of change, and it's never the same. And then she sort of says at trial it happened, and then she says it didn't happen. And so the story about break-ins on the boat is all very opaque.
Inconsistent.
Okay, let's call it that then.
Oh, is it not? Like I thought I was just...
No, I just thought opaque was a flat.
That's because you're defence counsel and you don't like the word inconsistent.
So, look, at the end of the day, you've got to accept that some people are just not great witnesses. I mean, look, as lawyers, we are often much more precise in the way we use our words.
But also, if you're not telling the truth about something, it's very difficult to get the story right all the time.
Yes, that's true. One would have thought a reasonably intelligent person could have got it more right than Sue Neal-Fraser did if she was trying to tell a lie. One would have thought you would have been more attentive
or just
to...
the fact is that if it's not the truth, it's much harder to remember all of the different variations you've...
Well, presumably you just give one variation so then you can easily remember.
Lord.
But it gets better. You'll like this one even more. So the police ask her, what happened on Australia Day? Yesterday, what are you doing? She said, I went to lunch with a friend at the yacht club. I went back to the boat, had an argument with Bob. He said I was in his way. He wanted to stay on the boat. I left it too. Went to Bunnings. Was at Bunnings for a few hours, didn't buy anything, walked around.
A few hours?
Yeah, a few hours.
Gosh.
I don't know if you've ever tried to find something in one of those big Bunnings. It is
I just
quite
ask
difficult.
for help.
Do you?
Yeah, there's so many Bunnings staff.
Yeah,
They're always so helpful.
They are helpful, but they're always busy. I always feel...
I just follow them around.
Do you?
Mm.
Stalk.
Mm-hmm.
So she's there for a few hours looking at things, doesn't buy anything. Then she says, I go home. I think there was I didn't want to call Bob because I thought he might be asleep, have my dinner, call my daughter, go to bed, wake up in the morning. So the police go, let's go and check Bunnings' security cameras. So they go look at Bunnings' security cameras. She's not on it.
At all?
At all.
She just never went there?
Because she didn't go there that day. So that's the 26th she said she went there. It turns out that she went there on the 25th or the 24th or something like that. So she got her days mixed up. Then she says maybe she was on the boat for longer than she said. Maybe she was there till 4 in the afternoon. And
could they check her phone records for when she called her daughter? That's
from the landline at home, and they do check that, and they've got that. So they've got a time when they know she's at home.
Okay.
But that's sort of 7 o'clock at night. There's a long time between.
Right.
Okay.
Particularly when she wasn't at Bunnings for a few hours.
When she wasn't at Bunnings for a few hours, yes. So,
and sorry, are they asking her this the day after? Like, has she?
No, this all comes out over the next few months. So they have a number of conversations with her.
Okay.
She's not charged until August. So the Bob Chappell goes missing on January. The 26th, 27th Jan. She's not charged until August.
But so are you going to get cross with me if I say that surely you would remember what you'd been doing the day your spouse went missing?
No, I'm not going to get cross with you, but I'm saying I don't accept that at all. I mean, have you never done that? Someone said, "What did you do yesterday?" And you're like, "I was at the doctor," and then like, "Oh, hold it, no, that was the day before. Okay. Yesterday I was at the movies."
My point is,
yes,
it was the day her spouse went missing.
Yes.
So that would be seared in your brain. Like I can tell you, there was a day one of my kids was in a car accident.
Yes.
I remember that day very well.
Yes.
But if you'd asked me about another day when they went driving, I probably couldn't tell you anything about it.
Yes. But if you got a call at 7 a.m. and a police officer said to you, yesterday your kid was in a car accident, what were you doing yesterday? How would you go?
And I'm on the next day?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be fine.
Would you?
I can remember.
You wouldn't be going, oh my God, is my child all right? I'm panicked. Oh my God, I'm talking to a police officer. Oh, what am I saying? Oh, I was at Bunnings yesterday. It's an unimportant fact. Why do these people need to know? I'm just going to say.
Nothing you've told me suggested she was panicking when she was talking to the police. You said she was a chatty Cathy telling them stuff they didn't even ask about.
Well, when I said chatty Cathy, what I was trying to communicate is that she talks a lot. She talks a lot. Not that she's necessarily a happy person. I mean, she was obviously, I don't know if it's obvious, but her daughters have subsequently said that she was incredibly stressed. I mean, you find out that your husband's missing and the boat's sinking and police officers are asking you, what did you get up to yesterday? And I mean, the police officers are asking because they're investigating. You're going, are they going to find my husband? Yeah, I don't know. I was at Bunnings yesterday. What were you doing? Can you find my husband?
All right.
Because we can't approach these conversations if we know that the people in them know what's going to happen.
No, but I think the fact of the trauma would sharpen your focus. Like, you'd be thinking, oh my God, why wasn't I here? What was I doing that was so much more important than being with my husband on the boat? Oh, that's right. I went home and did nothing,
Yeah, walked around at Bunnings all
but
night.
Did not.
Yeah.
Anyway, I find that curious.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So did the Tasmanian police. So you're in good company.
Excellent.
All right. So over the course of the next few months, she talks to the police a number of times and says a number of things. Now, so her movements on that night then become more confused because
by her.
Yes.
Yes.
She is talking to a ABC journalist, a month later, and says, yeah, I went back down to the foreshore in the evening and I looked across because I was concerned about the Bob.
Why?
And then I went back home. Well, because she'd got a phone call from a guy called Rex King, I can't understand how he fits into the thing, but he was somebody who was known to her and Bob and the family. And I understand he had some mental health issues. He had a phone call which had significantly troubled Sunil Fraser. And she, I think from recollection, I'm going off an interview that I saw from a documentary years ago where they said he had said he'd had a premonition there was going to be something happened to Bob or something.
Sorry, and she only remembered this phone call when she was talking to the ABC?
No. They had identified the phone call when they looked at the phone records. They're like, who's that call to?
Okay.
Rex King. And but I don't think she then elaborated on anything
going
further.
Back to the foreshore?
She didn't say she went back to the foreshore. What the police had found very early on at the foreshore was a jacket, a nautical jacket thrown over the fence of somebody who lived right on the foreshore. And that person had sort of come home at 6 p.m. or something and it wasn't there. And then the next day they're like, oh, I don't know what this jacket's doing here. And said to the police, oh, I don't know if this is relevant. So the police had taken the jacket and they later DNA swabbed it and it turned out to be Sunil Fraser's DNA. I think they'd said to her, is this yours? And she was like, no, it's not mine. And then...
Was there blood on it or anything?
No blood on it, but her DNA.
Okay.
And then they said, oh, well, this is you. And she said, oh, that must have been one of the jackets. We kept a number of jackets on the boat just for anyone to put on. Yeah, maybe I must have had it. No.
Oh.
So she then admits, I think she must have had it on when she goes to the foreshore or had it with her, put it over the fence, left it there.
Yeah, she's...
And then there's a lot of, she sort of says she drove to the foreshore and then she walked home. And then another one was she, had left the car there and then walked back to the foreshore and got the car. And, they then looked and they found footage of her car driving around. So this idea of going back and forward to the foreshore became all a bit murky, but it seemed that she had gone back to the foreshore, looked across at the boat, seen the lights around or whatever.
Okay, but so when were police first told about her going back to the foreshore?
Oh, I think within a month they'd sort of heard all this.
Not
the ABC journalist called the police and said, she's just said this to me. And then they went back to her and she was like, oh yeah, I went to the foreshore.
I'm pretty sure you'd remember that.
She says she didn't want to talk about it because she didn't want to reveal the conversation that she had with Rex King, which was she didn't want she
wanted to protect him.
Yeah, and the adult children, for some reason, Bob's adult sons, I think, would have been upset by it or something, and she didn't want to talk about it.
No. And plus it made her look guilty.
Well, anyway, so in the meantime, they've so they get to August. What else do they find? They then do some further investigating. I don't know when this information comes out, but they later on get a person who used to be a friend of Bob Chappell and Sunil Fraser and had been on sailing trips. And this guy, Triffett, gives evidence that Sunil Fraser had said to him on one occasion, oh, listen, would you help me kill my brother? I don't know he's really annoying or something. I don't know what the reason was.
What?
But it was quite specific. It was like, we'll knock him out and drown him, and then I'll sink the boat and you come back in the dinghy or something. There was this quite elaborate plan. She denied ever saying any of this. And I think that at the end of the day, Triffett was discredited. But this is the
Very
information.
coincidental.
I think she denied ever saying any of it. So I think.
Or did Trifford's story come out?
This is at trial. He gives evidence at trial.
So would he have known what the allegation was?
He volunteered the story to police.
Yeah, but against her, like, was that knowledge that she was meant to have killed him on the boat, tried to sink it?
Yeah, I think it was after she was arrested. It was in the paper. He was ringing the police and said, "Have I got a story for you guys?"
All right. Well, I might be skeptical about him.
Well, it got even worse. It was later on. She said the same thing about. She was like, "Oh yeah, why don't we kill Bob and we'll wrap him in chicken wire or something and drop him off the boat."
Also to Triffett.
Yeah.
Sure.
Remarkably.
And Triffett did think to tell anyone she was murderous.
No.
Until after Bob died.
No.
Did we find Bob?
Never found.
Okay.
I should say that part of the Derwent River where the boat is moored is 24 metres deep. Yeah, that's pretty deep.
That's pretty deep.
So, body going over the side. And a friend of mine who's a Taswegian says it's pretty fast flowing.
But then I was talking to an ex-police officer who who said that even when people try and weight down a body, they inevitably come to the surface.
Yes.
Was that?
Unless they're eaten by sharks.
Oh, I suppose there is that.
Yes.
Are there sharks in the Derwent River?
I think there's sharks everywhere in Australia.
Okay.
I think we can all rest assured of that.
All right. Sorry, I sidetracked you.
No, that's fine. Body has never been found. And going back to one of my red flags in miscarriage of justice cases with no body, no cause of death. Difficult to then reverse engineer what the intention is. So, yeah.
Yes, but also able to potentially infer because of other circumstantial evidence.
Sure.
Yes.
Not impossible.
Not impossible, and has been able to sustain a conviction of murder in a number of cases with no body. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't say that the people should never be prosecuted. I just say prosecution should be very careful about proceeding in circumstances where there is no body.
And I think that as a defence lawyer, you have a lot more red flags than are necessary.
Right, okay. All right. So the police, they charge her in August. So they've got lies that she tells to them. They say lies. Maybe I'll talk a bit about lies as evidence of guilt soon. They've got the luminol. Oh, what I didn't say is they also luminol the dinghy. And it, they put the blue light on it, covered in some substance that they say is blood.
They say it's blood.
Yeah.
Okay.
They take a photo of it, and this photo showed to the jury. And it's taken at night, I think, or something. They've got the blue light on it, and so all you can see is this blue mess in the bottom of the dinghy.
Like in the shape of a body or anything?
No, just like...
The size of a body?
No, just bloody whatever. It's not. It turns out it's not blood, but...
Oh, okay.
But they don't know that at the time of the trial. They say it's blood. They show it to the jury, this photo. And one of Sunil Fraser's daughters who's sitting at the trial, she is sitting there thinking, oh my God, this is poor old Bob. He's
dead.
This is a very bloody killing. Look at all that blood. Yeah, it turns out it wasn't blood, but what
was it?
It was the glue or something they used to stick a dinghy together or something. I don't know.
That has shades of Lindy Chamberlain.
Lindy Chamberlain absolutely does. Yeah, with the Sangai test strip or whatever.
Apparently, the blood in the car,
the sound deadener. Yeah, the fetal blood, which was really sound deadener.
Yeah,
they've got that. They've got the. They use this idea that she's it's trouble in the marriage to say that she wanted to kill him. There was some evidence, I think, that she'd told people she was separated.
Technically, they were. He was sleeping on the boat.
He was on the boat. She was at home. And they call the two crewmen to say that their relationship's been a bit strained, and the adult son of Bob Chappell gives evidence that the relationship's a bit strained.
It's a big stretch from a strained relationship to murder.
Oh, absolutely. And I think they gave evidence of, financial benefit. If he dies, she, inherits the property and blah, blah, blah. So, and then they have opportunity. So I should talk a bit more about opportunity. So there's this window of time on the 26th of January between when she leaves the Four Winds and when, 7 a.m. when the police call her. So what the police say is they have a witness who says at about 11 o'clock at night, I think it was, he's walking along the foreshore. There seems to be lots of people walking along the foreshore.
Very busy. It's
a busy foreshore. He sees a person in an inflatable dinghy driving out towards the moored boats, and he's pretty confident it was a woman. So they own an inflatable Quicksilver dinghy, and obviously Sue Neil Fraser's a woman, so the prosecution say that is Sue Neil Fraser going back to the boat. Interestingly, their theory of the murder is they say, I don't even know how they get to this, she kills him in the evening or afternoon, leaves and goes home, goes back at 11 o'clock.
PM.
Opens the seacock, cuts the line, turns off the bilge pump to sink the boat.
So the evidence they say was blood in the dinghy. Were they not suggesting he was in the dinghy?
No, you're right onto it. I was about to get to this. So the cabin's disheveled. Everyone agrees there's some scuffle's gone on in the cabin. There's blood on the stairs out of the cabin. Now, I don't know if you've ever been into cabins on boats, but the stairs down into them.
I have watched a lot of Below Deck.
Oh, have you? Okay. Are the stairs very steep on Below Deck?
Yes.
Okay, there you go.
Yes.
So getting in and out of cabins on boats can often be, it's almost like a ladder. It's that steep. So to get the body, if the whatever occurs in the cabin, you've then got to get Bob Chappell's either unconscious or dead body
out of there.
Okay. He weighed 64 kilos at the time. Really? You think you could lift 64 kilo dead weight?
Oh, no, but I know my 16-year-old son weighs like 80 kilos.
Yeah, he was an old...
Sorry, he's probably crossed with me. 85, I don't know, 90.
Buff.
Must be hitting 100 by now.
So, this is a 65-year-old man, and he was a scientist. He didn't look like he was regularly exercising.
Okay.
Having said, and
he's on the boat.
He's on the boat. Sue Neil Fraser, also 55. She's not a J-Lo 55. She is I don't do any exercise 55. I walk on the foreshore and I pull ropes on a boat.
Nobody is a J-Lo 55.
Except J-Lo.
That's an impossible standard.
Yes.
Yes.
So the Crown have got to then come up with this way that this 55-year-old woman, who the two crewmen said she was not great in terms of her physicality around the boat,
right,
got a 64-year-old dead weight man out of the cabin and into the dinghy. So what they say is she gets the fire extinguisher, the missing fire extinguisher. She weights the body down with that, puts him in the dinghy, takes him out a little way, turfs him into
so they say she did get him up and out.
Yeah. Because she used the winch, they say.
The winch.
Which is bizarre because she was the one who told them that the handle was in the winch, shouldn't have been in there. So
maybe
they say,
because it was something she forgot and it was so obviously not meant to be there that it would be weird if she didn't mention it.
Well, I'm not sure who would have noticed that. Maybe the nautical police officer who said
they are water police. They would be familiar with boats.
Yachts and motorboats are very different creatures.
You can see I have no knowledge. Yes.
So running sails up masts is something that you would never have to do if you had a motorboat.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever dealt with a winch on my motorboats.
I've dealt with a winch on a floor drive.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. Sort of similar. Except these are winding winches, not yours is a powered winch, I'm assuming, on the floor drive.
Well, the current winch is a powered winch. I think David had a manual
one.
Oh, well, sorry.
That's very old
It
school.
wasn't in the car. Like he had to operate it. Anyway. Completely
very
irrelevant.
Old school. Okay.
Yes.
So the idea is this 55-year-old small, not physically able woman gets into the boat, rigs up these ropes round the body of her husband, winches him out. And again, winches will help you. You're not lifting 64 kilos, but it's still heavier to turn the winch to get the body out.
I'm trying to imagine how it would maneuver up the stairs.
Drag it up the stairs and it's sort of hanging there. I don't know how you get it from there out
into
to
the dinghy.
Dinghy.
Very big undertaking.
It's crazy talk. And part of the defense case was there's no way that she could physically do it. What the police do, which is objected to later on, is that they do a reenactment of this.
I was going to say.
And they film it and they play it to the jury. I'm always against these kind of reenactments. I just
But did it work?
Well, they convicted her.
No, I mean, the reenactment must have been possible to do it that way.
Sure. I mean, it's a winch that can carry 64 kilos. You just rig it up and turn the handle and...
Ingenious, perhaps.
Anyway, so that's their story. She winches the body. So she goes back at 11 o'clock. So she kills him. Oh, how does she kill him? This is great. No body, no murder weapon, no cause of death. Prosecution say to the jury, yeah, she belts him on the head with some kind of a hammer, a weapon, something. Kills him in one blow, they say.
Oh.
I don't know how they got there. He's then dead or unconscious. She then leaves, comes back, disposes of the body, cuts the,
Wow.
I know. Bizarre.
Okay. I mean,
Anyway.
not okay. I mean, those phrases are the ones I said when I was talking about Kelly Lane.
Yeah.
No forensics, no body, no murder weapon, no motive, And I said that was unfair in her case. So I'll have to give Sue a little bit of leeway here.
So charged in August of 2009, a month after that, they finally get a match on the DNA, the big round pool of DNA.
Yeah.
So just to remind everyone, you can't see anything on the deck. It's just the deck. But when you put luminol on it, this round 21 centimetre by 26 centimetre patch comes up.
Which they knew wasn't blood.
They didn't know what it was. You couldn't see it, but it reacts to luminol and they tested it and they get DNA off it. So it's something.
Okay.
And the DNA matches to Megan Vass, who is a 15-year-old homeless girl. I know. Totally weird. So they go to Megan Vass.
Oh, they found her.
Oh, they found her. And they say to Megan Vass, were you on this yacht? She says, no, never heard of it. Never been there. Don't know what you're talking about.
Oh.
Yeah. This is a month later. What they also do is they then do a bit of, sleuthing on Megan Vass. I mean, she's 15. She's been homeless since she was 13. I think she'd come to the attention of the authorities at some point. She'd been living in women's shelters. They go back through their files. They find that she has an association with an older man, with it she's got a 17-year-old boyfriend, and then some association with an older man who has been convicted of unlawful wounding and other violent offences. And he is homeless to the extent that he is living on a yacht next to the Four Winds.
Stop.
I'm being deadly serious.
Hold on. So when you say an older man, like how old are we talking?
40 in his 40s. Yeah. So he's living on a yacht next to the fort. Like when I say next to, these
Whose
boats
yacht
are moored.
was it?
It was his. I mean, it was a small little, 20-foot
Okay.
fiberglass,
So he doesn't have
one master.
a land home, but this is his boat.
No, you could buy one of those boats for $5,000 on
Yeah, okay. But so
Facebook
it's
Marketplace
his.
right now. I know, I look at them all the time. So yeah, and you can live on board them to the extent that you've got a bed that's out of the rain, but it's still like camping. It's pretty rough living.
Okay.
And you may or may not have a toilet on there, a head. And if you did, it would be one of those porta potties.
They kept it empty.
Yeah, they kept empty. So,
Okay.
so he seemed to he described himself as homeless. I think he spent a bit of time on land, probably because it was close to the toilets.
Yes.
Anyway, so she is identified in police records as being an associate of his.
So do they know who he is?
Yeah, they know who he is.
Okay.
They know where he lives.
Okay.
And everybody knows that there's always break-ins for the boats that are moored on the Derwent River because thieves go out, break in, take stuff, sell it. So they automatically have a second line of inquiry, which is a pretty good second line of inquiry. They don't bother to follow it up.
At all?
At all. He is interviewed by police 3 years after she's convicted.
Okay, but hold on. Isn't she still in prison?
She's 1 month in jail at this. Oh, sorry, she's not.
No, now.
No, she's just got out on parole. Well, she got out 2 years ago on parole.
That is outrageous.
I know. Isn't it unbelievable? It
To
gets
not
worse.
even pursue it.
I know. It gets worse. So the police know all this. They ignore it. What they do, I've complained about this on this podcast before, people may recall, the recording. So what they do between January or sort of February and August when they arrest Sunil Fraser is they put bugs in her house. She lives alone. I don't know what they were expecting. As I said, that she's
the mad confessions
walks
of
around muttering to herself.
Murderous woman.
Yeah, I'm so glad I killed him. I don't know, with her cats or something, talking to her cats. I mean, just mad stuff. I mean, none of this comes out till after the trial, but they have bugs in her house for like 4 months, 5 months, get nothing, absolutely nothing. Anyway, goes to trial. The director himself of the public prosecutions prosecutes, and Sunil Fraser has a silk in defence. So the prosecution run the case. I've said that she is on the afternoon, evening, is on the yacht. She belts him in the head and knocks him out or kills him, goes home, comes back later to dispose of the body and sink the yacht to cover up what she's done. And they have evidence of the witness who sees the boat going out at 11 o'clock. They also have evidence from witnesses on the foreshore at different times who say, oh, yeah, we saw an inflatable boat, tied up to the forewinds.
Okay, after she'd apparently left.
After she says she left. They run this case, trial with the whole winching out, the luminol in the boat, the terrible relationship they had, these things she says to Mr. Trifford about how she wants to kill her brother or variously her husband by drowning them and then sinking them. Yeah. They run all this at trial. The defence run their case and they focus on a couple of things. One, they focus on she just cannot physically get this guy out. It would have just been too much for her. They focus on the DNA. So it comes to trial and they know it's Megan Vass, and Megan Vass is called as a witness. Why is your DNA on there? Prosecution call her. She says, never been on the boat. They said, have you ever been to Constitution Dock where the boat ended up? Never been to Constitution Dock. Don't know what you're talking about. Don't know anything about it. Never done anything. She's, by this stage, this is in 2012, so it's a couple of years later. Okay. So she is now, 16, 17. She was 15 at the time.
Yes.
So she's just a kid in a court.
Yeah.
Just
she's
denies
so
everything.
intimidating.
Denies everything.
Yeah.
The police know, I don't know if the prosecutor knows, the defence certainly don't know, about this connection she has with this disreputable man who lives on a yacht nearby.
You said the police know, you don't know if the prosecution
I don't
knew.
know if the prosecution
I would
knew.
hope they did not.
Anyway, so the Defence Counsel really go hard on this idea of Megan Vass's DNA being on the boat. The prosecution have to call a DNA expert. And the DNA expert says, hard to explain why her DNA is on the boat if she didn't go on the boat. Might have been, accidental transfer.
It's a lot of transfer though, isn't it?
Isn't it? So he said, it could have been accidental transfer. She's a homeless person. They knew that she lived around on the foreshore when she was not at a women's shelter. So, she's around there. It's possible that somebody steps in something of her DNA and walks on the boat.
Crazy.
Yeah. The Defence Counsel, they actually don't seem to, I haven't read the trial transcript, so I can't say this, but from what I've read, it doesn't seem they went super hard on the idea, exactly as you said, well, isn't there a bit much DNA for innocent transfer? The other point was, if you ever step in dog poo or if you step in gum, it's not like the next step you take is the dog poo and then after that there's no dog poo. It's you just trail dog poo. So similar with innocent transfer or accidental transfer, you step in someone's DNA, you would expect spots of the DNA to appear elsewhere. Yeah. So there was 21 people that walk on the boat amongst the police, the police and the family when it's sitting at Constitution Dock. So the police DNA experts like, it must have been that. And so the Defence Counsel asked him some questions about this, and he is very evasive. How often have you seen this? I don't know. I can't tell. Which is more likely? I'd need more information to decide. It was just one of the appeal judgments sets it out. It's just so evasive, these answers he gives. Anyway, we get to the summing up. The prosecutor says the DNA, Megan Vass's DNA on the boat is a red herring. I just can't believe that. DNA found at the scene, total red herring. The defence is just trying to trick you. Ignore all that. Then gives this story for which there is no evidence that she hits him on the head with something and he dies and then she, there's no evidence for that at all. Zero evidence for that. There is some evidence, not a lot, to support the idea she winched him out, put him in well,
there is blood.
Yeah, but there's no murder weapon. There's no cause of death. There's no body to determine any of that. There was no evidence to show how he died.
Not how he died, no.
You know, he could have
I
cut himself shaving and, choked on an apple. Who knows?
3 gouges.
Had 3 gouges on his face from shaving like Baden Clay.
Like Baden Clay.
In summing up, I just find incredible. The trial judge says that there is no reasonable possibility that anyone else killed Bob Chappell.
That is a strong statement.
It was unbelievable. Then he goes, so this idea of innocent transfer, the trial judge then puts together this long narrative about she was a homeless kid, she lived there, she might have spat and urinated somewhere, and then one of the police walked in it, and then they walk. Yeah, this whole narrative about how that could have occurred comes from the trial judge in the summing up. It is just unbelievable.
Wow.
That trial judge becomes the Chief Justice later on. Yeah, unbelievable. Anyway, so, boom.
Did Sue give evidence?
She gives evidence. Again, not a great witness.
Okay.
Because we have these stories about
inconsistencies.
Oh, yeah, the yacht was broken into. The yacht wasn't broken into. I went down to the foreshore. I drove back. I walked up.
Not a good tactic.
Not a good witness. And it's hard to, look, giving evidence is a funny thing, and not everybody, I mean, in fact, very few people do it well. Yeah. Really, at the end of the day. Nobody does cross-examination. Nobody survives that and looking good. Really, nobody does. I've seen some people come out of cross-examination looking okay, but there are always witnesses who don't have skin in the game. They're just sort of like, I was standing on the road and I saw this in front of me. They don't care one way or the other, and they come across all right. But if you've got any kind of interest in the proceedings, you do not look,
come in.
And you do not.
All right, but so don't leave us hanging. So shocking trial. Dodgy evidence.
Yes.
What happened on appeal?
Convicted, goes on appeal, hosed out on appeal.
What?
Yeah. Well, what they don't have on appeal is they don't have the stuff that the luminola's dodgy. They don't have the stuff about the relationship with Megan Vass. There was some other scientific evidence I think they got. They got more evidence about innocent transfer. But what happens unbelievably is, cut to 2017, Megan Vass, the poor thing, is really hounded by people to tell the story about what happened. In 2017, she writes an affidavit and she says, I was on the yacht. I was there.
Wow.
Billy Bloggs, who lives on the yacht next door, he was there, and my 17-year-old boyfriend was there. Bob Chappell told us to go off. There was a altercation. My boyfriend, or the other guy, beat him to death. I was so upset. She's a 15-year-old girl. I vomit on the deck.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes. Vomit on the deck.
Explain the large.
Exactly. I think she then said she left in the dinghy. She gives an explanation that perfectly fits all of the evidence.
Well, what did they say they did to Bob?
She said, I left, I didn't see.
Oh, she didn't see.
No.
Okay.
But there was other evidence that they found after the trial from 3 or 4 people. There was one person at the trial the defence called who said, I saw an aluminium dinghy, moored up on the opposite side of the Four Winds to the foreshore. So if you're on the foreshore, you couldn't see it. But from the angle we were sitting, and they had 4. A trial had one person who said that. They found another 3 who said the same thing. There was this metal dinghy on the other side, so that there's evidence that other people were on there. Not.
And so would the neighbour have needed a dinghy to get to his vessel?
Yes, you would not be swimming across and trying to climb up a ladder.
Okay.
So Megan Vass gives that. It's like, drop the mic. We've won. No.
The mic.
She retracts it.
Oh. So why did she say she said it then? What was her explanation for saying it in the first place?
Well, she says, I want to do the right thing. Then she retracts it. They say, why didn't you say this at the trial? She said, because the guys I was with would have killed me. Because she's living on the street.
Yeah. And I believe she would have felt scared.
Yeah. She's interviewed by 60 Minutes. She gives the same story. She says, I was on the boat. This happened. She then gives another statement saying it. She's then called. They do a pardon petition. They do a second right of appeal. They get up to the appeal court. She gives evidence of that.
Saying
I was there, cross-examined, saying I wasn't there. Just flip-flop. In the end, the defence don't rely on her. They say don't even rely on it. All they rely on their second appeal. So they lose the first appeal. No. They point out the dinghy, but the dinghy actually, the daughter who's sitting in the court at the trial was quite taken by the dinghy. I suspect the jury would have gone, wow, that's pretty powerful.
Caught my attention.
The prosecutor didn't really push it in his summing up, and I don't think it was really pushed as part of the case. So it's sort of known, but nobody sort of thinks it's of any great moment. So lose on one appeal. Years later, 2021, they do their second right of appeal, and they're back in front of the appeal court, and they talk about, they have more evidence about innocent transfer, and they say just not a sensible theory, particularly because it's this massive blob. And finally they know what it is. It's like, well, is that blood? Or because then they talk about bodily fluids. It's like, well, yeah, it is, because somebody vomited there. The other thing they found, which they don't raise on appeal because of the oddity of the second right of appeal, is that there are 3 exhibits missing. 3, a rag that's right near the vomit, and 2 other rags that have vomit on them. Like the police get them and go, rag with vomit on it, put it in an evidence bag, disappear. Never tested, never been found. So, so Megan Vass's story, even though she flip-flops, actually fits all of the evidence perfectly. Yeah. You don't have to have this, she's winching a body out and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, because you got 2 of them there to dispose of it.
To dispose of the body, they've got a different dinghy they can take. It's obvious how how he's overpowered. There's 2 men there. Yes. So it fits it perfectly. But because Megan Vass flip-flops so much, the defence don't rely on it. They run this second appeal. They lose 2-1. One judge goes, yep, absolutely, agree with you. The other 2 judges go, no, not fresh and compelling. This evidence not fresh and compelling. You could have found this stuff with reasonable diligence. Or the issues at trial, this was all aired at trial. The jury heard this kind of stuff that you didn't need to.
Wow. I started this thinking, yeah, she probably did it. And now I'm like, this is one of the worst miscarriage.
Yeah. Yeah, unbelievable, isn't it?
So she served her whole sentence?
She was given, I think, 13-year bottom, so 23-year top, maybe 15-year bottom. Anyway, she's out 2023.
But on
she
parole?
Got out.
Forever.
On parole. No, because she got a top,
10 years or whatever.
Yes. So she's on parole. So she's out and she's had her second right of appeal. Can't do that again unless you get something
fresh
new,
and compelling.
So, I think they're trying to get the Attorney General to have an inquiry, but just phenomenal.
That's incredible.
Isn't it?
All right. I did not realise.
What a rollercoaster ride.
Absolutely. Oh, poor Sue. And Bob.
I know.
Poor Bob.
There's some good documentaries if people want to watch it, and 2 60 Minutes episodes.
Gosh, okay, that is not where I thought you were going to take me. I thought I was going to be arguing against that.
Well, we don't have to agree to disagree. We can agree to agree.
Oh, you know what it does do is say that she actually is not a female perpetrator of intimate partner violence.
That's right. That's right. There we go. It spoils the statistics, that does.
Does. Thanks, Joe.
No problems. Thanks, Lizzie.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning into this episode. You can find links to the cases that we discussed in the description. You can also find a link to Guardian Criminal Law, and a big shout out to them for making this podcast possible.
The majority of criminal cases involve people, normal people like you, people like me, who find themselves in an unusual set of circumstances that would not usually occur in their life. My name is Mark Savick, and I'm here to assist you with your criminal matter. I look forward to hearing from you and being of assistance to you.
If you're interested in clips, you can look at them on Instagram and TikTok. Just search for Justice Matters Pod. See you next episode.